Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're going to talk about what happens when generative AI walks into the language classroom. We're going to break down some brand new research to see what its role really is. We hear all the hype, right? But what's actually happening on the ground? We're going to move way past the speculation and look at the hard evidence from when these incredibly powerful tools are put under the microscope. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the big promises of AI. Then we're going to put it to the test first as a tutor and then as a grader. After that, we'll really push its limits with some complex stuff before we land on a final verdict. All right, first things first. Before we can even judge these AI tools, we've got to understand the world they're stepping into, because the bar is set really, really high. And we're not talking about dusty old textbooks here. Applied linguistics is all about solving practical, real-world problems with language. And the experts in this field, the applied linguists, are the ones really putting AI through its paces. And here's the core question they're all asking. Notice the keywords here: technical accuracy. It's not enough for an AI to just sound human. It has to be right. It has to be effective. It has to actually help somebody learn. Okay, so let's jump into our first big test case. We're going to see what happens when AI takes on the role of a personal tutor and how students are actually using it. So the first thing researchers found is, well, it's kind of obvious when you think about it. The AI isn't a mind reader. The feedback you get is only as good as the question you ask. Garbage in, garbage out, right? And check this out. This study really drives the point home. Researchers looked at educators learning Swedish. When a teacher was there to guide them in a classroom, bam, 68% of their prompts to the AI were super specific and useful. But when they were working on their own, that number dropped way down to just 42%. It just shows you how crucial that human guidance really is. And what's really fascinating here is that this leads to these three totally different types of users. You've got the controller. They're just looking for the answer, copy-paste, done. Then there's the learner, who's digging in, trying to understand why. And finally, the adapter, who's kind of like a savvy editor, taking what's good but keeping their own voice. And this quote from a PhD student named Sam, I mean, this just says it all. He is the perfect example of that learner mindset. He wasn't just taking the answer, he was starting a conversation with the AI to really get it. Okay, so we've seen AI as a tutor, but what about when we flip the script and put it in the teacher's chair? Can it actually grade student work reliably? I mean, this is the million-dollar question for schools and universities everywhere, right? Could this save a ton of time and resources? Let's see what the numbers say. So, researchers got 7 human experts and ChatGPT-4 to grade the same student scripts. They used this stat called Fleiss kappa, which is basically just a fancy way of measuring how much everyone agrees. And the result? Only moderate agreement. They just weren't seeing eye to eye. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even though the AI didn't always agree with the humans, it was incredibly consistent with itself, like way more consistent than the humans were with each other. Oh, and it also turned out to be a bit of an easier grader. So what's the bottom line here? AI is a super consistent scorer, no doubt, but it doesn't grade like a human. It's a great tool to have in the toolbox, maybe as a second opinion, but it's definitely not ready to replace a human teacher just yet. All right, now we're going to really turn up the heat. We're moving beyond grammar and grading to tasks that require real nuance, culture, the stuff that's truly deeply human. First challenge, regional dialects, and this is a perfect example. In South Korea, they often use an English loanword for story, but in North Korea, they use a native Korean word. This tiny difference represents a huge cultural and historical divide. So can a global AI pick up on something that specific? And the answer was, well, pretty shocking. The AI was great at understanding the words, no problem there. But when they asked it to actually write in the North Korean style, its accuracy just fell off a cliff, only about 31%. It gets the meaning, but it can't reproduce the culture. Okay, next up, an even tougher test, human subjectivity. Researchers gave the AI a bunch of politically charged tweets about the topic of abortion and asked it to figure out the emotion and the writer's stance. Think about that. It has to understand sarcasm, subtext, all the hidden layers of communication. And it just couldn't do it. The study was crystal clear. Even when they told the AI exactly what to look for, its results didn't match what the human experts saw. It just could not grasp that deep emotional and ideological nuance. So, after all these tests, after this deep dive into the research, what's the verdict? Where does generative AI actually fit in the world of language education?
This quote from Robert Godwin Jones just nails it. The AI has this incredible mathematical map of language, but it's missing the one thing that gives language its real meaning, the experience of actually living in the world.
And that leads us to the best way to think about these tools. It's not an autopilot that takes over, it's a co-pilot. The human is still flying the plane. You set the destination, you make the critical calls. The AI is there to assist, to provide data, to help you navigate. It's a partnership. You know, in the end, maybe the most interesting thing about AI is that it's a mirror. It's built from all the words we've ever written, so when we study its abilities and its blind spots, what we're really studying is ourselves. And that forces us to ask a much deeper question. What does it really mean to know a language anyway?